Guys, okay, so I just want to say thank you for everybody who was like super supportive on the last video, and I missed you guys, and I'm glad that you guys missed me too. And a lot of you didn't know that I got arrested, so we're gonna kind of like start off by telling you guys what happened here. I am gonna kind of like skip all of like the using a nightmare of my life to what happened, how my arrest happened. So at the time, I was kind of like dating like two people. One of them is Kyle, we'll say, and the other one is Bob. Kyle had just gotten arrested on like a 54-person roll-up for dealing drugs, and he eventually came out on a Parker's for 2 weeks, but at this time, he is in jail, and I have this kid, Bob, we'll call him, staying at my house. Bob was a friend of my son's father's, you guys remember him, and they had been in prison together, and realistically, like, he didn't do drugs like that, but he was like also a drug dealer, and he had good intentions, but they were never executed well. And now he is in prison for like 7 years, and I'll get into that. But so what ended up happening was one day, like, I'm in my living room and I get a call on my phone, and I answer it, and they're like, it's the drug task force, right? And they're like, not the DEA, the drug task force, there's a difference. So they're like, okay, like, we know you're home, we know you're alone, we know you're inside your house right now, so you can either come out on your own and not go to jail, or we're gonna come in and arrest you, and then you're going to jail. I was like, okay. So I came out, and I'm covered in blood because, like, at the time, I was just a mess. Like, if I was shooting up and, like, missing or having a hard time, I would just, like, wipe the blood everywhere. I was, like, throwing needles into the wall, getting mad. Like, it was a shit show. So I go out, and they're like, we need you to take a ride with us. I was like, okay, whatever. So, like, there's nothing I can do at this point. If I'm going out, I'm going out. So I was like, can I change first? And I changed, and then I came back out, and we went, like, to the laundromat down the road, and he was like, okay, I'm not arresting you, but this guy is. So a cop, like, pulls down at that exact moment, like a movie or something. Like, it was timed out perfectly. And they don't formally arrest me, but, like, I'm in the car. We're going to the sheriff department now, and I'm in the sheriff department, and basically he's like, we have multiple sales on you, and this is going to be like a lot of prison time for you because, like, you've already had multiple arrests. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how can I get out of here? Like, right now, like, I need to get out of here because, like, I need to get high, and I need to, like, I have someone in, like, people staying at my house, like. So I was like, I gotta go. So of course, you know what obviously their plan is, they never want to do their own work for them, so they want people to, like, tell on people, right? So they're like, okay, like, you could save yourself by telling on people. And I'm like, listen, anything you want, just get me out of here, I'll do whatever you want. I didn't, full disclosure, did not, but that's all a part of my arrest down the line, you guys will find out. But so they're like, okay, well, we'll be in touch, right? So they actually bring me back to my house, and for about, like, a week, I don't hear anything from them, and I'm, like, really grateful for that. And I'm very open about this, the fact that, like, I'm not gonna front. Like, I know that there have been multiple addicts who do the same thing. They get picked up, they say they're gonna snitch, but then they actually run, and that's what I did. So I didn't really run, though. That was the stupid part. I should have ran, because at the time, I had actually just got a new apartment that I had been moving my stuff into it, but there was a part of me that was just stuck in that house that, like, I couldn't let go. I don't know if it's because, like, that was, like, my trap spot, and I wanted this new spot to be different, but I wasn't ready to let go. Like, I don't know what it was, but I should have moved. So a week or two goes by, and they're, like, trying to get a hold of me now. They're, like, trying to text me. They're telling me, like, I'm dodging them, and, like, I was. And eventually what happened was, next door, because the house is 2 houses connected by a basement. So next door, they use drugs there too. They do their own thing. They actually sold drugs too. Our dealings were not connected. Somebody overdosed over there. So she came over to my house, was, like, freaking out. I had a ton of Narcan and new syringes and everything because I was, like, getting rid of stuff for Project Save Point. And I went over there and Narcaned him and was doing, like, CPR on him and everything that I could. And they ended up having to call the cops, like, call an ambulance. And when the ambulance got there, I went back to my house. And a cop ended up coming over and they were like, we know that you were the one who sold the drugs, blah, blah, blah. Like, they probably were accusing me of this because somewhere in their system they knew I had just recently been picked up too, and they know who I was, like everybody did there. So I was like, you can't even do this right now. If somebody calls an overdose, like, you're not allowed to do this. Like, get the fuck off my porch. Like, this is crazy. So I was really mad about that because I had nothing to do with it. I didn't give them anything. Like, I literally went over there to, like, help save this person. I don't even know who it was, and it wasn't my drugs. It had nothing to do with me. So, a couple days after that, Bob is at my house. Bob is running from parole. A cop pulls up, and like, I have my security cameras. I know it's a cop. It doesn't look like the task force people. So I'm like, okay, he thinks it's for him. I think it might be for him too. So I got on, what, did I get on the camera and talk? No, I went to the door and I talked to him, and he was like, can you come outside? I just want to talk to you about what happened over here the other day. I was like, okay. So I go and I'm like going to answer his questions, and I like had a feeling something was off. So I like looked up and I seen the white Cadillac coming down the street, and this is like, that's the drug task guy. So I'm like, okay, I'm fucked. So he gets out of his car and he's like, you had a chance to, literally, this is exactly what he said. You had a chance to save yourself and now you're going down for sales. Just like that. I was like, what? Okay, whatever. In my mind, I'm thinking bail reform, right? Like, I'm not going to jail for this. Not going to happen. So I get to the police station. They fingerprint me. They do all this stuff, whatever. And you know how, like, you got to go through the court to see if they're going to set bail, bond, whatever. They did bail reform me, which was great. So I'm out on bail reform now, right? I know that, like, I thought, okay, so, and at the time when I was also dodging these guys, like, I was in communication with my parents, and, like, my parents, like, have a couple connections to people, and they tried to look into it, and they said that there was, like, nothing, that nobody that they knew could find anything about me actually having any sales with them. So, like, I'm like mad confused now, right? Because I'm like, where did these charges come from then? Like, whatever. So I actually got my, when did I get my, I think it was that day that I got some of my paperwork from that. I ended up getting a discovery packet, but I got some of my paperwork then, and it told me, like, the dates and the times and whatever. So they really do not protect you, like, if you're a snitch. Like, I could see on my paperwork, like, where it happened, when it happened. It was at my house, and I have security cameras. So it's like, whoever did this, like, I never got a chance to look back and see, but it's probably a good thing. And I really don't even want to know now, but it's whatever. So now I'm out on bail reform and pre-sentencing investigation, and I have to, like, check in with them and, like, do drug tests or whatever until I'm, like, while I'm going back to court. I didn't have enough time to do any of that because a couple of days, this is, like, the crucial time, right? So a couple of days after that, like, me and Bob, the Bob kid, he protected me. When I had people, like, coming into the house and trying to, like, take advantage of me, he like helped with that. When I was, like, passed out on the floor, he made sure nobody robbed me. And, like, I guess I did kind of, like, take advantage of that because, like, he didn't have to be there. He, like, wasn't on drugs, and he was definitely reaping the benefits. And he was, like, but it started getting out of control. Like, he started, like, texting my people and, like, trying to get in touch with them, and it just, he was, like, started, like, saying weird things to, like, my friends and, like, destroying friendships that I had. Not drug friendships either. Like, I had friendships from when I was in, like, middle school. And sorry, I just was really sick a couple weeks ago, and it's still kind of there. So at some point during this, my mind, like, with the time frames bad, Kyle had gotten out on his Parkers. And so when he got out, like, I loved Kyle at the time. Like, I thought that Kyle was, like, the one. Like, we were going to get married in jail when we both ended up in jail later on. Like, I don't know, Kyle got out, so I went to stay at Kyle's, and Bob stayed at my house. When I ended up coming back from Kyle's, because Kyle had to turn himself back in, Bob was like, had like some chick living in my house, and she like had stolen out of my stuff, and like my security cameras were all taken down, and it was like a mess. I was like, what the fuck is going on here, right? So he got all right, so this relationship with me and Bob, like we got very close in a very short period of time. We would do anything for each other. Like I can't explain it. It sounds crazy. Like the way that he looked out for me, and then just the chaoticness of it all. And he actually somebody had shot him up while I was at Kyle's, and he like started using not heroin but meth, and he hadn't slept in like days, and he was like, I'm leaving. I was like, listen, like I had like a couple people over at the time. There was like this one couple, I'll get into them later. I gotta tell you about this couple that like really fucked me over so many times, and I just kept letting them like back into my life. Remind me to tell you guys about the couple another video another time. Like they really got me in some shit. But so he was like, I'm leaving, and I'm like, listen, like I have a bad feeling if you leave. Like I have a feeling. And the couple that was there, the guy was like, said the same thing too, which I thought was weird. I was like, okay, listen, like I was like, I have a bad feeling if you leave. And he was like, I have a bad feeling if I stay. So I was like, okay, well, do whatever you need to, I guess, like, but whatever, like you can always come back. So he left. He was sick of my shit. And the next day, very early, I think it was like the sun wasn't even up yet, my neighbor, so like I'm already out on bail reform, right? And the next day my neighbor comes over, and it's like, I don't even remember what time it was exactly, and they're like, you need to call Bob, like Bob's freaking out, you need to call Bob. So like I was like, okay, I don't really know what's going on, but so I called, no answer. I called again, and they're like, he was like freaking out. Like he was like, I'm surrounded by death. I don't understand. I'm like, where are you? Like, let me send somebody to come pick you up. Like, I don't understand what's going on. He's like, I killed him. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, let me just, like, you need sleep. Like, let me come send somebody to get you. He hung up on me. 2 hours later, like suits showed up, like suits, like investigators and everything, and they're like, you need to come with me. And I was like, okay, I was like, for what? Like, I'm not like going. I was like tired, like I was already stressed out. They were like, no, like you have to come. So I was like, okay. So they brought me to an interrogation room where they had me sit there for six hours. And joke's on them, because like you have an addict sitting there. I fell the fuck asleep for the entire time. Like if whatever they were trying to do wasn't working on me, because I was cooked, done. So they ended up coming in, and this was like the dumbest investigator I've ever had, because he tells me like, listen, where's your friend? Like I was like, I don't know, obviously not with me, like you see this. And they're like, well, it's like, they were trying to like say like he's in danger. Like I already knew he wasn't. Like I know what type of person Bob was. I knew he was fine. Like I was like, listen, like what happened? They're like, they told me at some point that during this conversation somebody got stabbed, right? And then I don't remember verbatim what was said, but like a couple minutes later, I had said to them, I was like, listen, if he stabbed someone, then he was probably defending himself. Like, he's a young kid, and he has been up for, like, whatever. And they're like, oh, so you do know, because, like, we didn't tell you. I was like, you just told me that. Like, you literally just told me he stabbed somebody. And they're like, we didn't tell you that. I was like, you did. Like, you definitely did. So they left the room, and then they must have played it back and listened, because they came back in, like, some short amount of time later, and they were like, okay, you can go. We're going to bring you home. So I'm like, whatever. So I get back there, and at this point, I got in contact with him. I found out that, and with some other people, and I found out that when he had left my house, he went to go do like a big sale, and like he got jumped. They tried to jump him and rob him, and like one guy in particular, like these people are all tweaked out too. They haven't slept in mad long. All these people involved, like it was just a setup for disaster. So one kid, I guess, like picked up an end table and was like running at Bob, and at the same time Bob pulled out a knife, and they both went through a wall. Like he ran in over the table, they went through the wall, and as they went through the wall, Bob's knife went through his neck and then like out and then back in, right? So now I know like the full story at this point of what had happened. And Bob calls me and he's like, I'm surrounded. Like, I'm surrounded and I'm scared. And he was crying and didn't know what to do. And my son's father had just gotten out of prison the day before this, right? The day before. And he was over there and I just was like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to do. I was like, okay, I got you. Like, fine, I got you. Like, I'll figure it out. So I looked at my son's father and I was like, I'm so sorry, but like, I feel like I have to do this. Like, I have to help him. So I called and I was like, you guys are looking for so-and-so, Bob. I was like, he's at my house. Like, he just showed back up again and I'm not letting him in, right? I was like, I'm not going to let him in. But he's freaking out and I don't know what to do, right? So very soon after, like 50 state troopers show. I didn't realize how serious this was. I didn't realize the extent of the stabbing. I didn't know it was in somebody's neck. I just knew somebody got hurt, right? Marshall showed up with AKs and I was like, he's not here anymore. Like, I'm sorry, he's not here anymore. And they were like, we have to go through your house. Like, we have to make sure he's not in there. So they're like in the yard and everywhere and people were calling me. They thought somebody was dead. There was cops like all over the place, like lined up down the street. So they come in with like their AKs and everything and their guns and they were like, okay, the house is clear. So they're like, they know. Okay, so I didn't know at this point. They had his phone pinged. Like, they knew I was lying, but they have to like follow up on these things. And they were sick of my shit too. So they were like, okay, we're gonna like make this bitch sign a statement saying that what she saw was true and I'll go down for it later. And so they ended up saying like, can you get in touch with him? And I was still like trying to help my friend and I was like, he said that he's like on the Northway or something. He's like so-and-so. And they're like, okay, well, if you hear from him or see him again, then like you gotta let us know. But they're like, they brought me down to the police car at the end of my yard and they were like, do you want to sign this statement of what you saw? And I was like, at the time I didn't even think. I should have said no, right? But I was like, yeah, sure, I don't give a shit. And they're like, okay, you know it's a felony if you sign this and it's like you're lying, right? And I was like, yeah, like whatever. Because in my mind I was like, they can never prove that I was lying. Like, that's what I thought. So I signed it and then like I couldn't get a hold of my friend later. A couple hours later, like he's on the news and he had been arrested and because he's a prior felon. There is no self-defense laws in New York, right? So let me just be clear on that. In New York, there is no situation, none, where you are allowed to hurt somebody like that. I've never seen a successful self-defense case in New York. And after being in prison and seeing like especially all the women who were like, it was them or their husband and they lived and they're doing mad time in prison. Like there's just no, he was going on no matter what. So so he's on the news. Probably like I was resuming my life as usual, and the next day I wasn't there, and the same investigator showed up, and they like left a card. Then like a day or two after that, I was coming back from a friend's house, and it's like very short distance to my house, and like I see like one cop car come behind me. And then another one, and at this point I'm like, this isn't a coincidence. And then like 6 more, and I'm like, oh my God. So get pulled over, I'm with my son's father, and they were like, you know, like, we need to talk to you. So they put me in handcuffs, and like, I'm really pissed off. So I'm either like, I thought about running, but I can't run because you guys know I have a bum foot. So I ended up like keying the shit out of their car with the handcuffs. Like when they were behind me, I just like slid down the whole thing. So that's what I did in that moment. They towed my car. I got like 9 felonies that day. They didn't all stick, but like I had like brass knuckles in the car and like all sorts of things. So I ended up definitely getting arrested that day. So they did not let me go. And that was the start of, they definitely did not. And then I ended up having, it was like the couple sales, and then hindering an investigation. It was possession of a weapon. It was, they didn't really have me on any drug possession because I didn't like have, they didn't find it is what happened. It was in a black box that had like strong magnets on it, and I like it was like stuck under the car. But they towed the car and kept it, and I was doing court for a while. Basically, that's how I went to jail. So Bob got like 7 years for that. It was supposed to be a lot more. If he took it to trial, it would have been a whole lot more. The kid ended up living. He was on a respirator for a while. They assured me during this, because our cases ended up kind of like connected a little bit. They assured me that the guy who got stabbed was also going to be charged. Like I don't know if he ever was, but like you can't I feel like you can't set somebody up to rob them and then attack them and then you get hurt and it's just you're exempt from all of that. Like you don't get any charges, but I don't know. So now I'm in jail, Kyle's in jail, Bob's in jail. My poor son's father just got out of prison, doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Like he's at the house. I lost everything. I mean, everything. I had my cats. You guys remember Matthias, my ex? He took the cats because Trevor couldn't do it at the time, and then I got one of them back because one of the Siamese one was his when I got out. But everybody just kind of out of jail, and my new apartment, everything in it gone. My car gone. Everything I had in my house gone. Like you guys know how much makeup I had? Gone. Everything gone. I had like 2 totes of stuff that were saved. And so yeah, that's how it went. That's pretty much what had happened. I could probably tell you guys more like leading up to like, I could tell you guys a lot of crazy things that happened, but there were like home invasions going on, like not for with me per se, but like that kid, like there were like reverse ones, which if I don't even know how to explain that, that was bad. I had like people like showing up at my house that I didn't know, like, and like thanks Bob for that, because I would have just opened the door for anyone. But there was that. There was always some type of fighting. I have like a fighting video going on, like between Kyle and another guy, because like he like came to my house at one point and was like whipped a knife, and I was like, Kyle owes me money and you're not going anywhere until he gets here, and like I don't want to hurt you, but I will hurt you type thing. So that turned into a fight, and they were like rolling on. There were so many crazy things that went on at my house, like for the last, like it was probably a miracle that I'm even alive, and it was definitely a good thing that I got arrested, and I'm glad that I did, because things were getting so out of control, and like yeah, things were just getting out of control. They ended up so for my charges, there was 2 sales, that was it. They dropped one of them, or they combined them, and I got a 2 flat 1 post for that, which is not bad, and that was my first sale, so that wasn't bad. These were my first felony convictions, so like I'd always had felonies and they would be reduced. This was like my first felony conviction, so I also got a break from that. I think they were more mad about the thing with Bob, because they gave me a 1 to 3 for that, and then, which also wasn't horrible. I fought them really hard in court though. I did. I really fought, because it was supposed to be like 5 years for the sales, and then it could have been like up to 7 for lying to the police, but like I fought them for like about a year in county before getting that, maybe like 8 months. So that was good. I ended up doing a lot of it in there because there was COVID and programs were delayed and everything, but I'm glad it happened. I met so many good people in prison, and it was actually a pretty good time. Like I would never go back, but it was a pretty good time. But that's kind of what happened. It was like drug lifestyle gone really bad. Like I thought I could just sell drugs forever and like no one would snitch on me, and that's exactly what happened. Somebody wore a wire on me, and they said when I tried to, like, I was gonna take it to trial, But my lawyer was like, dude, do not take that to trial. The video footage they have is crazy. Like, don't take it. It's so damning. And I was like, okay. So I didn't. But, let's see what else. And then with the, you know, hindering an investigation, because I, like, impeded their investigation on this kid, I guess. They were pretty mad about that. But, in the end, I'm glad that it happened, and right, it gave me a chance to start over. It sucked losing everything, you know, like, that definitely was hard. It sucked, I mean, because I don't have, like, any of the resources that I used to have, not, like, when it comes to, like, drugs or anything, but I used to at least have, like, my Social Security. I don't have that anymore. That got, you know, kicked when I was in prison, because that's what happens. And then moving to a different state, like, it's just really hard to get back. And yeah, so it was a fucked up time. But now, fast forward, if you guys want to know, Bob is doing great. Bob is doing, it's actually through Cornell, the college that he's doing in there. We don't really speak anymore because I just kind of cut all ties with everybody. Kyle got out a little bit after me and immediately screwed up again and went back in. So he's back in. My son's father, he screwed up for a while after I got arrested, and then he ended up taking off to a different state, also kind of close to me. Not the same state, but it's very close. And he spent some time with his mom. He hadn't seen his mom in a long time, and she ended up passing away while he was there. So he's, like, really grateful for that, but he's still living there and, like, thriving, like, doing really good. So that's great. And I'm at where I'm at. But yeah, and then I know I wanted to tell you guys about that couple too. Like, the guy I knew for a long time, I'll get into that another time, but, like, I mean, like, crazy things, like, this kid, like, I have a video on my cameras of him, like bopping around like this, and, like, shot me up in the neck to, like, knock me out, and then stole a bunch of shit, money, drugs, like, stuff that, like, I had on a front, and then right before leaving, like, shot me up again so that I would wake up, like, crazy. And then tried to take my SD card to try and get that footage, but, like, it goes to a cloud on my phone, so I have it still. But that was bad, just because, like, obviously, like, the amount of stuff that I was, like, selling was not from, like, small time people. It was, like, pretty important people, so it was bad. But I'm very grateful now. The first couple months of being out was very difficult, because, like, this is all I've ever known. Like, that lifestyle was all I ever knew. Really, it was. Like, I don't know what I like. I don't know what my interests are. I've been using drugs religiously since I was, like, 15, so I feel like, where do I even go from here now? Like, what do I do? And, you know, there were a lot of, like, arguments between me and my mom. Like, as much as I had a great time in prison, like, there's something different about the way that you have to live in there. So, like, and I think not even just that, but, like, the trauma that I had, like, the guy Kyle, he used to, like, really beat the shit out of me too. Like, he would, like, throw me and try to put me to sleep. He said he was gonna kill my cats once, and, like, I was in love, right? Because it's like drugs, you just, whatever. You know, you think things are love, but they're really toxic. And he actually had charges prior too for stabbing somebody in the leg and hit an artery and almost killed them. Like, just these people I was surrounding myself with was absolutely insane. And now I think, like, I would never do that. Like, I don't know why I was doing all this, but I don't know. I guess maybe the more fast-paced and crazy the lifestyle was, the less I had to think about my own issues or something. I have no idea, but that is how I got arrested. Long story short, the sales, and then the hindering investigation, the time in between, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, so that's it. And now I'm out and I'm free. And where I live now, it's crazy because you have to have, like, a thing online where it's got, like, your mugshot and, like, your charges, and they call, like, where they in New York would call it hindering an investigation or whatever. Here they called it aiding an escape, which is just sounds not good. But that's pretty much it. And yeah, there's so many other things I could tell you guys, but that's pretty much how that went. I don't really know what else to say. I just want to update you guys on kind of how that happened. And maybe in the next video, I'll show you guys some of my paperwork from all these things. So you can see like the mound that in my final discovery that I got, it was like this thick, like with just the information that they had. And yeah, I don't know. I think that being in prison was definitely, it's like one of those, it's what you make it type situations. And for me, it was, I went in there with the mindset of like observe, analyze, adjust, comprehend, and blend, because in New York for women's prisons, there are 3 prisons you can go to, Albion, Taconic, and Bedford. Bedford is a max, that's where I was. So you're there with like the lifers and like real crazy people, and you also are there if you have mental health issues. And I tried to hang myself in county. I'll tell you guys about that later also. So that's where I was. There's Albion and Taconic. So like going into like Bedford, I knew that like it was going to be crazy and just kind of mind my own business. And I had a great friend that I had met in county who we actually went together to Bedford on the same date, and we had been like super close in there. So I was lucky to have her. She actually gets out on the 3rd of November. Good for her. But yeah, and I'll tell you guys some stories about that too. There was a girl on here I saw, she makes videos about prison, and like somebody had asked her like what's the saddest thing you've seen in prison, and she was like, it was basically a story about somebody's mom dying when they were in there. And I'm like, what? Like that's it? Like where I was, like people were like boiling chemicals and like melting each other's faces off. Like you're very fortunate if that was your experience. But and that was it. But anyways, yes, that's about it. I'm gonna go now, and I will talk to you guys soon. And let me know like if there's any like specific things that you guys want to hear about or whatever. I know everybody loves a good train wreck. Let's be honest for a second. Here's my cat. You guys want to see my cat? My bed's a mess. Make room. Yeah. Oh, come here. Come here. Oh, the kid. Let me show you too. That kid Kyle started to do a tattoo for me, a big one, and it looks like little penises. I'll show you guys. It's all over my leg. I'll show you guys in the next one, I promise. If you guys want to see it, let me know. But it's supposed to be a girl's face and flowers, but it did not work out that way. All right, I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys either like tomorrow or the next day or something. All right, love you, bye.